This is Susan Schreidman. I'm the chair of the Planning Commission, and I don't want to waste time when the public, we're seeking public input, and this is the first of 2 public hearings, but just wanted to briefly say that with the 2020 census hopefully to be done this year, and with the Planning Commission rewriting the zoning ordinance, this update of the master plan and revision was a way for the city to keep a current master plan in place and make some changes that we thought were necessary to create the vision for the city. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Susan. Is there anyone else from the Planning Commission that wishes to speak to the City Master Plan? All right, hearing no one. Is there anyone from the Rutland Redevelopment Authority present who wishes to comment on the City Master Plan?
Barbara Spalding from the Redevelopment Authority. I'm available if there are any questions.
Thank you, Barb. Is there anyone else available, or anyone else present from the RRA that wishes to speak to the City Master Plan? Okay, seeing none. Are there?
Sorry, I just unmuted. Brennan here. I don't have anything specific for the public hearing. I know we're going to committee tomorrow, and we'll have some comments for the committee meeting.
Good. Thank you, Brennan. Are there any state representatives present who wish to speak to the City Master Plan?
I'd like the opportunity to speak, please. William Knott speaking.
Yep. Go ahead, Will.
Thanks. So I just wanted to take a minute. I'll be very brief. I hope to get the information to call into the committee meeting tomorrow as well. And I would just like to request that the board seriously consider not altering the City Master Plan to eliminate the possibility of the natural gas pipeline coming to Rutland. I understand that the chances that this will actually happen are somewhat slim. There will be a massive amount of funding needed. But when you're looking at something that is to the immense benefit of businesses just 45 minutes north of us and businesses in Chittenden County, which already have so many advantages, to alter our master plan to totally eliminate any chance of the natural gas pipeline coming down to Rutland to the benefit of our local business community, it would be a real gut punch, I think, to local business. And it would send a very unfortunate negative message to our existing businesses that are considering locating in the area, and businesses that are considering expanding in the area, that this may not be their best choice. I strongly urge the Board of Aldermen to keep the existing pipeline language in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Knott. And to the board, it should have been distributed to you a letter from Representative Knott for your review. Are there any other representatives present who would like to speak to the City Master Plan? All right, hearing none, moving to general members of the public who wish to speak to the City Master Plan.
Hello.
Kevin Ki Faber.
I heard Kevin, is that right?
Yes.
All right, Kevin, I heard your name. I'll have you go first. Just your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Kevin Ki Faber. I live at 149 Ash Street in Rutland. Good evening. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak on this topic. First of all, I want to mention that I agree with the mayor and others that we don't want to have a Route 4 bypass in our plan. I would hope that's something we can all agree on. What I'm most concerned about is the proposed Vermont Gas Systems pipeline, which is similarly an old issue that I would hope that we can remove from the plan. I believe the plan reads that pipelines are somewhat controversial, but I think we all know that they are extremely controversial, and especially this one. There are lots of reasons to be opposed to this pipeline. First and foremost is the fact that this would be a huge investment in a technology that is outdated. We were once told that natural gas was a cleaner fossil fuel that could be a bridge fuel to more renewable energy sources. But this was just a cheap marketing ploy. The truth is, when you look at the methane released in the drilling and processing of natural gas, it ends up being dirtier than coal. Similarly, VGS sometimes calls their gas renewable, but 99% of their gas is from fracking, which is far from renewable and extremely damaging to our environment. In addition, since this plan was last revised, there have been advances in heat pump technology and rapid improvements in efficiency and affordability of other renewable energy sources, making natural gas and other fossil fuels less competitive when compared to renewable sources. And that is a trend that is likely to continue, making natural gas a bad investment. When this pipeline was first proposed, one of the main selling points was that Vermont Gas Systems was going to build a gas-fired power plant here, but that could have provided jobs and tax relief. But in the current market, small-scale gas power plants simply aren't being built. It's not economically feasible, and that isn't likely to change. A fracked gas pipeline that has an expected 50-year lifespan is a dinosaur that should not be part of our plan. On top of that, the Rutland Regional Plan opens with acknowledgement of the goal of using 90% renewable energy by 2050. This pipeline flies in the face of that goal. This would be a huge investment in a technology that moves us farther away from that goal and from a future that Rutland right now has a reputation for having more solar power per capita than anywhere else in the state. That's a reputation we should build on, not tear down. Also, in an interesting twist, it should be noted that Vermont Gas Systems and Green Mountain Power are both subsidiaries of Energier, a giant Canadian energy corporation. Currently, Green Mountain Power is facilitating a transition to heat pumps, heat exchange water heaters, and solar installations, which is helping us save money on our energy bills, improve the marketability of our community, and moving towards the goal of 90% renewable sources by 2050. What's going to happen to all that positive energy if we were to decide to invest in the part of their company that supports natural gas? The two divisions would be working at cross purposes to one another. I'm not sure what would come of that competition, but I'm guessing that we, the ratepayers, and our community as a whole would lose. Simply put, this pipeline is a bad investment in outdated and environmentally damaging technology that should be removed from our future and removed from our plan. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Kevin. Other members of the public present to speak to the City Master Plan?
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes. Your name, please.
Hello. Yes, my name is Candy Jones. I live at 65 Church Street in Rutland. I would like to address the issue, please.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. The state of Vermont has set energy goals to supply 90% of our energy needs by renewables by 2050. These numbers are within the universally accepted standard of fossil-free goals. Currently, in the Vermont legislature, the Global Warming Solutions Act provides for our state to forge ahead with increased weatherization, vehicle electrification, and programs for... Sorry, excuse me?
Hello.
Someone else is speaking. I'm sorry. And electrification and programs for value-added standards in training, building trades, heating and plumbing trades, realtors, so that hand in hand we can upgrade homes and increase the desirability of our state and add green jobs to our economy. Contrary to their...
Excuse me, please. If you're not the person recognized as speaking, will you please mute your mic or your phone? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Contrary to their deceptive advertising, Vermont gas is not renewable. Only 1% of that gas comes from reclaimed sources, and the rest is from fracking fields in Alberta. The cost overruns the Addison segment, now passed on to ratepayers, the brutal use of eminent domain that damaged the social structure of communities, and the current investigations over safety violations should be enough for us to realize we do not want this burden on our community. Many cities, such as Brookline, Mass., have decreed that no additional pipelines or connectors be built due to explosion events in other Massachusetts cities and poor economic outlook for fracked gas. According to Forbes in 2019, the cost of renewables is so low now that almost every energy source of green energy can compete with oil, coal, and gas. In 2015, Rutland was deemed a solar city, and we have been steadily increasing solar capacity since then. Strong leadership that continues in this direction adds value to our community, protects consumers, and adds resiliency to the grid. Promotions that prioritize our success in renewable energy will stand out in any regional outreach initiatives designed to entice more forward-thinking people to our city. In closing, our health, environment, and economy benefit from moving away from fossil fuel infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Other members from the public that are here to address the city master plan?
Yes, this is John Atwood.
All right, John, the floor is yours. Before you start, just please, if you're on the call, mute your phone if you're not John Atwood and speaking presently. Thank you. Go ahead, John.
Hi, I'm John Atwood at 98.5 East Street here in Rutland. I just wanted to add a comment and say, while I certainly agree with a lot of the points that some of the other speakers have made about natural gas not being the right fit for Rutland, particularly since it is will be an antiquated technology by the time any pipeline could be built to connect Rutland. I think that the master plan really should be an affirmative document about what we want to have as a community and what we see the city being interested in spending time on and resources on in terms of developing. As such, I don't really feel that it's necessary to put language into the master plan to say that we are against a pipeline. I think perhaps leaving the existing language as is, or just not mentioning the pipeline and the idea of a pipeline plan altogether would be sufficient. I think the plan is already clear about Rutland's commitment to renewable energy and meeting the state's renewable energy goals. So I think we should focus on what we want rather than spend a lot of effort worrying about what we don't want. So I would encourage the plan to go forward more or less with the language that's currently in place. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Are there any other members of the public to address the city master plan?
Yes, Bianca Zanella.
Floor is yours, Bianca.
Thank you. So my name is Bianca Zanella, and I live at 61 South Main Street here in Rutland. And I just kind of want to reaffirm what Kevin and Candy have already spoken about, with just a few other points. I also appreciate John's comment about moving towards affirmative language. Just with my perspective and belief in Rutland City about how we really stand together as a community and for our people, I think that really does come down to rebranding Rutland City and continuing the rebranding of Rutland region collectively as a green place and something that just really, or like a place that really just stands for our people. And I don't think this pipeline, or really allowing for the possibility of extending a pipeline in their master plan language, would stand for the people as a whole. When we were thinking about greenwashing, that's really what the Vermont gas system is doing when they're calling their natural gas renewable. And Rutland as a whole, we don't want to be greenwashing our actual community. If we're going to be green, if we're going to be the solar capital of Vermont and maybe more, then we don't want to be really putting on a front. We want to live through an authentic narrative and to be genuine in our community. And so that's just what I wanted to add to Kevin and Candy's point. Thank you.
Thank you, Bianca. Any other members of the public to address the city master plan?
Hi, yes, this is Dave Wallstrom.
Dave Wallstrom, the floor is yours. Just name and address, please.
Sure. David Wallstrom, 18 Highland Avenue. For starters, having not been able to review the amendments to the master plan, I'm not sure how much extra I can add to what's already been said. I agree with most of the commentary about the damage to folks wanting to start large industry here, as well as our commitment to renewable resources. I know that when this came up about 5 years ago, there was some concern about the particular company that was proposing the plan and their history of monitoring small failures in their systems to prevent disasters. And I think that was something that was never fully addressed when they decided not to continue with their phased approach to extending gas lines down the western border of Vermont. So I guess without further reading of the plan, I can't comment too much more. I would love to get a copy of the proposed plan before the committee meeting and be able to review that if that's possible. I've sent a quick text to Melinda, so hopefully she can get me that. And other than that, at this time, I don't really support gas coming to Rutland, but at the same time, without having more information, I don't think it's really possible to make an informed commentary on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. And just for the people listening in concerned about the city master plan, the information is available on the Rutland City website, if that's helpful to you. Are there other members from the public that wish to speak to the city master plan? Hearing none from anyone, Alderwoman Humphrey, I believe you wanted to speak to the committee meeting tomorrow night before we adjourn.
Yes, thanks. So, Matt, that's a good question. I've struggled to find the copy of the current version of the master plan on the website, and I don't know if it's a combination of just being overwhelmed by these virtual meetings and the documents or whatnot, but there are some folks that like to participate that I don't think have easy access to the copy of it. So I guess I'll put out there to anyone prior to the committee meeting tomorrow, if you would like to call me or email me, my phone number is 802-353-0914. My email address is melindahumphrey@comcast.net. And we are reviewing the current version of the master plan tomorrow in the general committee at 5:30 at the same phone number. And also it brought to my attention that some folks may want to submit written comments for the record. I can't guarantee that they would be included in the public hearing, as that's a separate item. But any public comments that are submitted to me by email tomorrow before my committee meeting, I do not think we'll be able to read them out, but I will distribute to the committee and the full board, and I will include them in my report for the record. And so that was it. Thanks.
Matt, this is Susan. Could I say something about the master plan? On the city's website, and I'll send it to you, Melinda, there's the current master plan from 2015, as well as the draft from March 11th. So I'll send you the link, okay, Melinda, and maybe that'll help you send it out to folks so they can see the current one and the proposed draft.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and I think Michael Talbot just posted the link for the board members, so I apologize. When I looked out there before, I was only finding the older one, so it looks to have been updated. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Sure. We have a motion to close.
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor of closing the public hearing indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? The public hearing is closed. I'll step down for just 1 minute to let any caller who's on right now, who's strictly here for the city master plan, to sign off. And then we will get going. Going to ask that you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is behind me if you want to look to my screen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. Thank you all, and welcome to the Board of Aldermen meeting. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. One, as always, because of the means by which we're doing this, we have to take a roll call vote of our members to start the meeting. Any vote to pass must be unanimous. And I would point out that we are going to have an exceptional number of callers on the phone tonight. Much of this is related to one of our agenda items surrounding the BIOP emergency loan applications. Due to this, I'm going to ask that everyone be very mindful of if you're not speaking, please mute your microphone or mute your phone. It is very hard to hear with the background noise. And with that, I will have Clerk Heck call the roll.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, when I call your name, I can see you folks on the screen. You can go ahead and wave at me if it's easier than unmiking or unmuting your mic and stuff. So I'll start with Alderman Garuso.
Here.
Thank you. Alderwoman Ryan.
Present.
Thank you. Alderman Attore.
Here.
Thank you. Alderman Talbot.
Here.
Thank you. Alderman Mattis.
Here.
Thank you. Alderman Gillum. Thank you. Alderman Clifford, I don't believe is with us this evening. Alderman DePoy.
Here.
Thank you. And Alderman Davis.
Here.
Thank you. We're all counting for you.
Thank you.
Henry, you missed me. It's Melinda.
Oh, I'm sorry, Melinda. Alderwoman Humphrey.
Here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Very good. All right, now we're all accounted for.
We're just testing you, Melinda.
I'm paying attention.
Right. So moving on to minutes of the previous meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
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 We have a motion to approve in a second. Is there any discussion, changes, alterations to the minutes? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of approving the previous minutes of April 16th, 2020, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. We are on to outside the rail. Are there any members of the public wishing to address the board from outside the rail? Hearing none, and do speak up if you wish to, because I can't see you other than a caller and a number. All right, thank you. Moving on. We're on to communications from the mayor. Mayor Allaire.
So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I just got a couple of things tonight. I posted this message that I'm going to read out to you on my Facebook page earlier today to try to get a wider audience so the general public would hear what I had to say under these circumstances. Most of this is COVID related. With the new guidelines coming from the state, we are now commencing access again on a limited basis in the city clerk's office. Those are under these conditions. It would be an appointment only. Folks would be in and out on Strong's Avenue, only one person at a time. Their temperature would be taken. We would ask that they're masked. They would keep their social distance, asked to clean up afterwards. And as I said, after discussions with the city attorney, getting the guidance from the state, and certainly a lot of discussions with Henry Heck, we believe that this is the correct road to go. So we're going to do this on a limited basis so folks can have access, in particular real estate transactions and those sort of things that are going to really would bog down any forward movement on whatever economic development is happening during this difficult time. Second thing is the governor was again new guidelines, said construction and road crews could restart. We're looking at doing that this week, 2 people at a time with limited action. I know road construction or construction crews are out again and started today, and we're going to start looking at having our DPW people engage in some activities that they maybe were not allowed to do before. Third thing is discussions are ongoing around City Hall about the possibility, and I will say possibility with capital letters, of trying to find other ways to give taxpayer relief, which we know is needed. We also have, and I have continually harped on with my department heads and everyone at City Hall to keep spending only to critical items from now until far off into the future, probably, but at least until the end of the year or when we know when this is going to ease up. We know the budgets and tax collections coming are going to be challenging. I think they're going to be soft here in mid-May, and I'm sure the city treasurer will mention that in her report. We'll certainly have a better idea come May 15th where exactly we stand, at least in the short term. But we are actively looking. We haven't really had a lot of luck yet, but I think that there is opportunities if the state would be able to step in and help us, especially with some of our charter requirements. And finally, I just want to ask politely, I know you've got the buy-app to get through tonight, and I want to take this minute right here to politely ask the board to approve the recommended list from the RRA regarding the emergency buy-app and micro business loans as presented. I think the best message that we can send to small businesses and our constituents here in the city is we are ready to help, even in this small way, and will not get bogged down in details. And I know that's easier said than done. You have a job to do. I understand that. You have oversight. I'm not saying not to do it, but I just think that the sooner that we can get that money out the door, the better for the city, certainly better for those small business people. I want to congratulate everyone who has been a part of this up to this point. The Board of Aldermen has been an active participant in this. RRA has done some great work. You've all done good work. We appreciate it, but that money's got to get out the door, and as soon as we can. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Mayor Allaire. Are there any questions for Mayor Allaire from the board? Seeing and hearing none, thank you, Mayor Allaire. And we'll move on to additions and deletions to the agenda. I'd like to request that we have an executive session, which is on the agenda under reports and letters from department heads and officials, that we move Commissioner Wennberg's executive session to the end of the agenda following miscellaneous motions, resolutions, and motions.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and it has been seconded. Is there any debate on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adding this after miscellaneous motions, resolutions, and new business indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yep. Alderman Davis.
Well, just with the addition and deletions, I see Chief Lovett here, but I don't see the emergency plan on the agenda, and I don't know if that's why the chief is here to discuss that and if we need to add it.
Thank you. Chief Lovett.
Yes, it is exactly that. It's this time of the year again, seeking permission from the Board of Aldermen for the mayor to sign the local emergency management plan. It's the same plan every year that we sign with a few changes in personnel.
Mr. Chairman, I want
Alderman DePoy?
I'll make a motion to add that to the agenda, the emergency management plan.
I'll second.
There's motion has been seconded to add that to the agenda. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So we are now on to reports and letters from department heads and officials. Up first, Treasurer Markowski, the March 31st, 2020 Treasurer's Report.
Hi, thank you. I apologize, I got the reports out a little late today, but I just want to go over the summary real quickly. If we were to close our year end of March, we're looking really, really good. Revenue on track, expenses right at target. But as I put in the summary, the March numbers don't reflect what's happening now with the COVID-19. We can already see a real drop in our non-tax revenue, recreation, parking, RME, and then we'll wait and see in May will be the big indicator of how we're doing when we have the water and sewer tax collections. That I kind of took a look today to see how we're tracking like compared to last year on revenues, on receipts for taxes and water and sewer, and we're really in dollar, we're right on target, the same as 20 days last year, 20 days this year for water and sewer and for tax. So I credit the city taxpayers. Those bills go out, we get the payments right in. We're seeing a lot of tax payments as well. On the delinquent report, we've seen some improvement in delinquencies, but we did have to cancel those tax sales. So we're hoping maybe this summer we'll reschedule those. Again, if you're looking at the summary of revenues and expenses, I think everything is pretty much on target. Water and sewer revenues are lagging a little bit. Consumption is below what was anticipated, so you're seeing that below target. The parking fund is on target right now, but really we're going to watch those revenues just drop right off there. Transit center seems to be doing well. I did have a discussion with Laz about keeping in touch with us on expenditures and what they can do to, they're going to see a drop in revenue as well, and what steps they might be taking on the transit center. The RRA has a strong cash position right now and is in target with expenditures for the end of the third quarter. I also mentioned that the mayor has communicated within City Hall to really watch our discretionary spending, and unless something is really absolutely necessary, we use expenses as much as possible, because we're looking at the impact of the tax collection and water sewer, and also right after that we're going to start looking at the tax rate, so for next year. So I would like to refer this quarterly report to finance for further review.
Move to refer to finance. Move to refer to finance.
Second.
There's a motion and it has been seconded to refer the Treasurer's Report to Finance Committee. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
Mr.
Are
President,
there any other?
if I could just
Alderman
quickly, we're going to ask to add that to the warning for Wednesday's Finance Committee meeting, so everybody can be aware now, and I'll get that to Henry to warn that for Wednesday as an addition. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Torrey.
Thank you.
there any other questions for Treasurer Markowski? Seeing and hearing none. Thank you, Treasurer Markowski.
Thank you.
We are now moving on to City Engineer Rotondo, resolution of support for fiscal year 2021 municipal highway grant application. This is pages 1 through 4 of your packet. And Engineer Rotondo, I believe you are on the call.
Yes, I am. Good evening, everyone. I'm looking for, asking for 2 resolution of supports tonight for FY 2021 municipal highway grant applications. The first one, and actually some of you that have been on the board for a while have probably heard these before. We're actually applying, I believe this is the 3rd time for one of these for the Strong's Avenue application. But the first one is the Class 2 roadway grant application. And this project is a 2-inch mill and fill paving project along Strong's Avenue from South Main Street to Washington Street. And the estimated project cost is $262,325. And the maximum awarded amount that we could get is $175,000. And because we're having this meeting remotely, and typically we pass around the resolution of support, what I'm asking for is a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the resolution of support on your behalf.
So moved.
Second.
May I ask who actually made the original motion?
Tom DePoy.
Tom DePoy. In the second, please. Was that Alderman Bruce? I believe that was you. Okay, we're good. So there's a motion and it's been seconded. I believe I did see Alderman hand.
DePoy raised his hand. I hear an echo, by the way.
Okay, seeing and hearing no debate, all those in favor of the resolution, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
I would just ask you to.
Okay, the second project is a 2021 municipal highway grant for structures, and this project is to remove and replace Allen Street culvert number 20 over Hospital Brook. This is part of our structures bond, the $3 million bond that was passed in 2019. But again, we're applying for a $175,000 grant. If we get it, it'll offset some of the bond money that we may need to do this. So again, similar to the first project or the first grant application, again, I'm asking you to authorize the mayor to sign the resolution of support on your behalf.
Mr. Chairman. The culvert and authorize the board to behalf.
Second.
All right, there's a motion that has been seconded. Is there any debate on the issue? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor of the motion, resolution, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Excellent. Motion carries. Engineer Rotondo, is there anything else?
That is all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, if we could, I would like to take up Chief Lovett. I believe this will be a little bit quicker than potentially the discussion surrounding the RRA and the buy-up loans. Chief Levitt.
Yes, good evening, everyone. What I'm here for tonight is to ask for your support in allowing the mayor to approve the local emergency management plan. It's a document we go through every year and refresh, check numbers, change contact information for different folks around the city. It outlines the city's emergency management plan, and it's pretty much a standard document that's been created over a number of years.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
We have a motion and some seconds to suspend the rules. All those in favor of suspending the rules, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman Davis.
I'll move to approve the local emergency management plan and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
We have a motion and it's been seconded. Is there any debate on the emergency management plan? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Chief Levitt, is there anything else you need from us?
No, that's it. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Everybody stay healthy and well. And if you need anything, get a hold of us. All right. Thank you.
See you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief Levitt, and thank you for all the hard work you've been doing. We are now on to RRA Director Duffy, who will be speaking to the Micro Business Emergency Loan Provision Request. And this is page 5 of your packet.
Hi, everybody. Brennan here. So as I forwarded in the memo to the board, the RRA has 11 small businesses that we are recommending for loans through the Micro Business Emergency Loan Program. And I believe everybody has a copy of that, so I won't walk through them one by one. And Chairman Whitcomb, I guess I'll let you decide how you would like to take these up today, all at the same time or individually. It's up to you.
All at the same time.
I'm comfortable at this point suspending the rules.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion to suspend the rules, and it's been seconded. All those in favor of suspending the rules, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, for debate, I will put a motion on the floor to approve the BIAP Micro Business Emergency Loan Provision as presented in its entirety.
Second.
We have a motion, and it's been seconded to approve the recommendation for all of the businesses in the loan amounts as recommended by the Rutland Redevelopment Authority. Is there any debate? Alderman Gillum.
Just one question. The C Street Corporation, what's the DBA on that?
There isn't one.
So where's that business?
We own 42, 44, 46, 25, 27, and 29 Center Street.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alderman Attore.
I was just going to comment on that for Alderman Gillum, but Steve is on the phone, so we're good.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, debate? Hearing and seeing none. We have a motion that has been seconded to approve all of the Rutland Redevelopment Authority recommended amounts for the small business loans. All those in favor of the recommendation, please indicate by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Great.
Thank you, Brennan.
Thank you, everyone. If I may, I have two other topics related to the microbusiness loan program that I'd like to discuss with the board.
Yep, the floor is yours.
Okay. So the first, with those loan amounts being recommended, and thank you, by the way, for taking that up. I know that'll be of great assistance to these struggling businesses to get that funding out there. So we had capitalized the program, the emergency loan program, with $100,000 out of the existing BIAP, and we will have $40,000 remaining after this first round of review. So there was a motion at the RRA board when we did this review to move another $30,000 out of the existing BIAP to help recapitalize this fund for the round 2 review, which will be coming in a week. So I guess I would ask that the board consider that tonight, and if that's agreeable, to have a motion to authorize to use that funding. There was also some discussion about whether the city would be willing to put an additional $30,000 in from another source of funding. I guess I would recommend the Zamias fund for that if that was of interest as well, and that would get us back up to $100,000 in funding allowable for the round 2.
Alderman Atori.
Move to suspend the rules and take the issue up tonight.
Second.
We have a motion that's been seconded to suspend the rules. All those in favor of suspending the rules, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none. Alderman Atori.
Thank you. So I'd like to speak to the whole issue, but to put a motion on the floor, I move to commit $30,000 from the current BIAP fund into the BIAP emergency loan fund.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion that has been seconded to commit $30,000 from the current BIAP fund to be transferred into the emergency BIAP loan fund. Alderman Atori.
Thank you. So I'm very much in support of this, and to the other comment that Brennan had about the city and matching it, we had at our last board meeting talked about letting this run through 2 cycles and then having a committee meeting to see how it's going. I think that would be the appropriate time to recommit more money. This $30,000 gives the RA a nice $70,000 to go through a second round. It allows us to then maybe have a committee meeting, see how it's going, and decide whether or not now is the right time to put some more funding in, if that funding should come from Zamias, which is kind of over and it's on its last leg, or if that funding should come from the remaining $100,000 that sits in BIAP. I think there's a lot of questions around those pieces, but I think we put it into committee for a good reason. Let's set it. We'll go one more round. We'll approve this $30,000 so that they have $70,000 to work with in the next round, and then we can see how it goes at a committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Atori. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Davis,
Turn your mic on.
you're muted.
I'm sorry. Brennan, the first round went rather quickly, and there was obviously enough need to fill that $100,000 quickly. So not in disagreement with Alderman Tory, but question, I don't know what you've had for applications for this round 2, and will it exceed the $70,000 that you currently have?
So right now, I know that we have 4 applicants that have submitted applications, qualifying applications, and I can't really predict other than I believe there will be strong demand again as we get a little closer to the deadline for that, which will be, I believe, Friday at noon. So it's hard for me to say, you know, we're not going to have more applicants than funds. What we've been doing as a process is to kind of take these as a first come, first reviewed. So as the applicants are submitted, they're tracked. And I know, like I said, we have 4 right now. 1 was tabled from last round. And I suspect we will probably have more applicants than funds for round 2, but I can't say for sure.
Mr. Chairman, if I may ask another question.
Go ahead, Alderman Davis.
Mary Markowski, are you still with us, the treasurer?
Yes, I am.
Mary, I don't know. Do we know what the dollar amount of uncommitted funds in Zamias are?
Just a little over 91,000.
Thank you.
Any other questions or debate? We do have a motion on the floor to approve $30,000 from the current buyout fund to be moved into the emergency buyout loan fund.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, Alderman Davis.
I don't disagree with Alderman Ettore, but I think we have an opportunity to take another 30,000 from Zamias and have the discussion in committee whether or not how we may be able to pay that back to Zamias, whether it's as the funds come back to the buyout loan or if it comes from another source. But I think the opportunity, we saw how quickly the small businesses took advantage and needed to take advantage of this funding. So I would think if we could do that extra 30,000 and at least still then have that conversation is how we maybe possibly repay if needed the Zamias funds. So I would just throw that out for debate.
Thank you, Alderwoman Davis. Just a note to the board, my video is frozen, so I can't actually see if you're raising your hand right now. I'm going to have to restart that.
I am raising my hand.
I think Alderman Ettore
Alderman
had his hand
Ettore.
up first.
Thank you. Alderman Ettore, go ahead.
Thank you, Alderman Gillum. I don't disagree at all with Alderwoman Davis on this. Honestly, my thoughts are more about the funding source. Zamias, as we know, and as Mary has just said, is around 90,000, and for all intents and purposes will not be replenished. It's a fund that has no restrictions on it and is likely to be over. On the other hand, the buyout is as over 100,000 in it. It'll have 100 after we commit this 30, so it'll still have 100,000 in it. And it's replenished every year with the solar leases by about 50,000, I believe. And the treasurer can correct me if I'm wrong on that. And so I feel like if we're going to do more money, which I, again, don't disagree with you at all, the buyout fund is being replenished after year and has more restrictions on it, whereas the Zamias is not being replenished and has no restrictions other than what we choose to do. So I would prefer that we hold off on Zamias until we know that's the right funding source. But I totally 100% agree with you that, putting more money into this fund to help business owners will be a boon for us. And my only other argument to not do Zamias now is we don't really know what the impacts are yet. And so that's the other piece of why maybe we could hold on to the Zamias until we really know more of the impacts. Since it won't be a fund that we can, replenish. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Ettore. So we do have a motion on the floor to approve $30,000 from the original buyout program to be moved into the emergency buyout loan fund. Is there any further discussion or debate on that particular motion? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would like to
yes,
I would just like to ask that Brennan from the Brennan Duffy RRA puts a report out to this board as soon as it's possible when he determines the number of small businesses that are requesting this loan. So if this board can make an adjustment if needed and necessary, then we could do that in a timely fashion with the additional 30,000 that may be needed. So it's not a motion, it's just a request.
Hi, Sharon. So I can absolutely do that. So we will obviously know, after our 12 p.m. deadline on Friday, how many applicants we have. And I think what you're asking is if we exceed the 70,000 in requested funding, that the board be notified, and I'm happy to do that.
That's correct. Thank you.
Yep. I will also just add, and I don't want to debate anymore about the proper use of the funding or funds and which one might be better. But I do believe, just for everyone's edification, that we will receive a fairly large balloon payment, at least in theory, from the Zamias Fund at the end of the term. Yep. Now, whether that is collectible at this point in time is a question, but I will say, just in case folks were not aware, that we haven't been receiving payments on that for some time due to the loss of the anchor stores, but the contract would still require the city be made whole at the end of that if there is a solvent owner of that property.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I hear you.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask one more question before Brennan leaves us?
Please do.
So Brennan, to Alderman Torrey's point of restricted versus unrestricted funds, so with the buy-up money being returned, is there a restriction that would prohibit it from paying back the Zamias Fund if requested?
No.
Thank you.
And I have one more topic on buy-up, if I may.
Go ahead, Brennan.
Okay. So in our first round, obviously, we had not done this before, and we learned some things. One of the things that was debated when we were talking about the policy was the eligibility requirements based on employment. And there was debate back and forth on the high end and the low end. We went from recommending the 2 full-time employees down to sole proprietor and higher. On the higher end, we had moved that down from 50 employees down to this micro business definition of 10 employees. And then there was some discussion about whether that would be full-time employees or could be a mix of full-time and part-time employees or full-time equivalents. What we did see was one applicant who otherwise would have been a qualifying applicant for the funding who was not eligible because they had a higher number of part-time employees. And this was a restaurant that after talking to the owner, he explained that most restaurants don't have a whole lot of full-time employees. It's mostly part-time, and people are picking up smaller shifts, throughout the week or the month. So a suggestion that I would have for the board, without really changing the policy or renaming it, would be to allow some discretion on the RRA's part as to allowing part-time equivalents to count towards that 10 or fewer employee. And that, I think, would open this up a little bit on the higher end for this next round and allow maybe some restaurants that are a little larger than that because they have that part-time they can't at this point avail themselves. And I think they're going to be the ones in the most critical need here as this continues. So without really changing a whole lot as far as the language, I would just ask if the board would be willing to agree that that makes sense and that we would have some discretion to count part-time equivalents towards that top end of 10 employees. In other words, you could have 5 full-time and 10 part-time and still meet that qualification.
I'll move that motion.
Sam or Alderman Garuso, specifically, the motion you're making is to alter the language to redefine full-time equivalent employees. Is that correct?
Full-time equivalents, and I thought he said part-time, didn't he? Whatever. I thought Brennan just basically said it in the last few words of his talk there. Brennan, can you say it again?
Sure, and just to be clear, I don't think we actually need to go in and change the policy language at this point. I think it would just be, this is a micro business, 10 or fewer employees, but we would count the full-time equivalents towards that 10.
Okay.
So
Point
it
of
would
order?
allow for slightly smaller or slightly larger businesses to be able to qualify to apply and be reviewed.
Alderman Gillum, I believe you said point of order.
No, I didn't, but I do have a question.
Alderman
That was
Madison.
me.
The second.
The point of order is ahead of me.
The point of order was Alderman Mattis.
Alderman Mattis, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mr. President, I believe we need a motion to suspend the rules first.
Yes.
That's
correct. Need a motion. He just wants you to
I'll
give the
move
green
that.
light.
I'll
All right,
second.
Alderman Mattis,
Get them all tied up.
and it's moved to suspend the rules. Alderwoman Davis is seconded. All those in favor of suspending the rules, take the matter up tonight. Please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Excellent. Motion carries. Alderwoman Mattis, did you have a particular motion you wanted to make?
No, I think Alderman Garuso's motion is fine. It was to, I'll repeat it, I suppose, to allow the RRA discretion in the BIAP emergency fund to account for full-time equivalent employees in their applications.
That's exactly what I said.
Second.
Perfect. All right, we have a motion that has been seconded to allow the IRA discretion in defining full-time equivalent employees. Is there any question or debate on the issue?
Just who was the seconder?
Alderman Gillum.
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment because I've been dealing with the local government with the emergency management up in Montpelier. We've been sitting in on the meeting every Friday. The small business people are getting crushed because the federal guys have missed the boat on that. Most of the big guys, the 5 million and up, are grabbing all the money. So I believe this is very important. Whatever we can do to throw money at that to help our people first, right now, because most of these people can't get unemployment because it's all jammed up. So they're running out of cash. So I think it's important that we move now. Hopefully by May 1st, we can come up with some more money, or the first meeting in May, we can come up with some more money because they need it now. They can't wait until June and July. So that's just my comment.
Thank you, Alderman Gillum. Any other comments, questions, debate? Seeing and hearing none, we have a motion that's been seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Brennan. Do you have anything else you'd like to address with the board?
No, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys taking the time to work through this. I think this is a critical piece of assisting these businesses, and really appreciate the support. Thank you.
Thank you, Brennan.
Thank you.
All right, we are on to reports of standing committees. We have none. Reports of select committees. We have none. Reports of representatives. We have none. Petitions, letters, miscellaneous communication. There is none. Board of Control Commissioners. There is nothing. Any unfinished business to come before the board? I am seeing and hearing none. Any miscellaneous motions, resolutions, or new business to come before the board? Hearing and seeing none. We are now on to the executive session. Commissioner Wennberg, the approval of scope of work, pricing and funding for AMI fit-up. Attorney Bloomer, would you like to go over the instructions? This is going to be new to all of us.
Sure. So I did send out an email prior to the weekend, which gave you a separate number/link to use for executive session purposes, rather than use the same one that we use for the public meetings. So I guess speak now if you didn't get that email or you have questions about that. We would do the motions here to go into executive session, and then we'd all sign off and log back into that other meeting room. That would be the plan.
Very good. Do you have the language for us regarding the executive session?
Yep. So the first motion would be to find that premature general public knowledge regarding the negotiation of a contract would clearly place the city at a substantial disadvantage because the discussion will divulge the board's position on the contract provisions to be negotiated.
So moved. I'll
Second.
If a motion has been seconded, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and then there's a motion to enter into executive session with the inclusion of the mayor, commissioner of public works, business manager, treasurer, and city attorney to discuss the negotiation of a contract as allowed under Title I, Section 313A1A.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion that has been seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. I have a question,
Those
Mr. President. Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
Alderman Mattis, go ahead.
Sorry, I know that you need to finish the vote, but I just was wondering after we vote, could we have a 5-minute recess to get everything in order?
Yes. It would be acceptable to step down for 5 minutes. That'll allow people the time to find the link, sign in, and get the paperwork they need. So, assuming this passes, we'll look to be back in and discussing by 7:58.
Thank you.
All right. Any other?
Chairman Whitcomb, if I may, as part of our discussion, you already have a memo from Commissioner Wennberg. I sent a proposed contract right about the beginning of the public meeting. So if you could check your emails just so that you have that for reference as well. We'll be referencing that during the executive session.
Very good. Thank you, Attorney Blomer. All right, so we have a motion that has been seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. We'll see.